Welcome to Wonder About Us Cooking at Home. So I was going through recipes the other day and I found this recipe from my mother-in-law, roast beef with peppers and tomatoes. And I was like, oh man, I haven't had this in a long time. So sometimes you don't always have what you need for a recipe, so you're going to compromise a little bit. So, and most of you guys know that, notice that this has a sale tag on it, okay? So lots of times, if you have a freezer, and I'm not talking about just the freezer that's attached to your refrigerator, but an actual freezer, because you don't want to, unless you guys rotate a lot, you don't want to stock up that little freezer in your refrigerator. But what I do is whenever I go to the grocery store, I cruise by the meat department. If you go midweek, almost everything is marked down, so you have a big choice. And so I usually just buy what's on sale, and then I put it in my freezer. And you want to put it in your freezer right away, you know, so you're not worried about the date or anything. And then try to remember to rotate that. So when you're putting it in your freezer, if you have some in there already, put the new stuff on the bottom, because you'll never remember to look at the dates when you're pulling it out. So I've got this. It's actually a nice tri-tip, but we're going to use this. This recipe actually calls for round steak, which is, you can also buy the stew meat, which is usually similar to round steak, all cut up. So you can do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and cut this into some strips. I'm going to cut off some of this extra fat. And I strongly suggest a compost bucket if you don't have one. You can make one. You can use a milk carton. A milk carton's really good. Oh no, not anymore because they're waxed. But you can use an old Kleenex box. You can use, there's lots of different things you can use. If you live like in Escondido where we do greens recycling, if you use a Kleenex box, then you can throw the whole thing, including the box, into the greens bucket. So it's nice that one of the samples they actually give is showing that you can do that, is they're talking about the pizza box. But one of those square Kleenex boxes is nice to sit on your counter. If you do have a regular compost container, then you'll want to put a paper towel on the bottom of it, so you don't have to wash it every single time you empty it, okay? So we're going to cut these a little bit bigger than bite-sized pieces. It says into strips, but, and the Stroganoff does the same thing. It's into strips, and I always cut them into bite-sized pieces instead. So this recipe actually calls for a pound of steak, and I have 1.5 pounds. So I'm just going to kind of I may up some of the things that we adding. We'll see. Now, one of the things I learned when I first started making this, oh my gosh, 50 years ago was the first time I made this recipe, is I made my sauce first, and then as I cut up my vegetables and my meat, I put it in the sauce. You don't want to do that, because in your first pieces of meat absorb and vegetables absorb all the sherry, and so you don't get that nice flavor throughout everything. So I'm going to actually cut my meat up first, and I probably should have cut my vegetables up first, but I do have an extra cutting board. But if you're going to be using the same cutting board and knife, you'll want to do your vegetables first. So most of you have seen this before. On the bell pepper, just cut the tip off, and then you can grab this whole seed section right out. And then just kind of reach in here and pull the membranes out. And then dump that out. And then you have this little tiny piece here where I guess that's the bud.
That's the flower end.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but then it's like, well, that's the bottom of the flower. And you can just use your finger and pull that out. Just tip this and you can pull the top off. And then you want to rinse it off. And if you have any seeds left behind, you can put those in the garbage disposal. It's fine. You guys all know that I don't like the skin on the tomatoes, so I cut that little tiny piece off like that. And that just takes a very thin layer of the skin off. Then when you're coring the tomato, you want to hold your knife like this. And the reason you're going to hold this knife is if it slips, it's not going to go through to your hand. I got seeds everywhere. Okay, so I'm just going to core, and I'm going to go at a little bit of an angle so you can get your core up. Just like that. And make sure and do it like this, because if you're doing it like this, if you slip, you're going to cut your hand. And safety in the kitchen is the most important thing. You want to have a really sharp knife. It's actually, usually when you get cut in the kitchen, it's by having a dull knife. If you have a nice sharp knife, you can go from the skin side of the tomato. If your knives aren't quite so sharp, then you can go from the other side of the tomato. In this case, I was going to cube this, but I remember I went slice it, so that was good. So if you were going to cube this, you would just turn these over like this, slice them again, and just go ahead and cube them. Okay, so we've got, let's go ahead and cut up our bell peppers. And again, they're saying slice them. So we're going to just start on one side, slice them down. Okay, now it calls for onions to be sliced. I diced all my onions the other day, and I didn't do another one, so I diced them ahead of time and put them in Tupperware. So we're just going to use diced onions instead. Okay, so let me get rid of this. Oops, I'm going to need this for my crystal. Okay, so one of the things it says is it talks about a quarter of a teaspoon. I'm sorry, I'm looking at a hummingbird out here. It talks about a quarter of a teaspoon of ginger. Most of us don't keep fresh ginger in our house, so I use a little bit of this crystallized ginger, and it says a quarter of a teaspoon. So it's very potent. So you do want to kind of measure this, but you can use ground ginger. You can use whatever you have. I happen to like, if it's asking for fresh ginger, I like this crystallized ginger. So I'm going to put some here. And then I'm going to just kind of break it with the back of my knife. Cut it up just a little bit. So if you're using fresh ginger, you want to remember that you want to peel it first. Okay. Of course, if you're using fresh ginger, you know how to use it. And if you're using fresh ginger, you want to cut it really small because it's very potent and somebody doesn't want to take a bite of that. So ground ginger or the crystallized ginger. The crystallized ginger is a little bit more expensive. It's nice to have. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make our sauce now. The Tupperware, I don't know if the new Tupperwares have this. This actually has a tablespoon and four teaspoons. So there's this little rim here, so you don't have to spill it. So I'm going to use this one. And I want 2 tablespoons. So it's talking about for soy sauce, but I use the organic cocoa aminos because I'm not supposed to be eating soy sauce. And when I first started this, I would take this with me to the sushi bar. And the sushi chef was like, "What is that?" And he was surprised when he tasted it. He couldn't tell the difference between it and the soy sauce. We took Charles' soy sauce dish and put them next to him so he could try to sample both of them together. So we got 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, crystallized ginger that we have, and a tablespoon of sherry cooking wine. I didn't have any sherry in the pantry, so we went to try to buy some drinking sherry, and we had a tough time, so we just went ahead and got cooking sherry. A tablespoon, and we're going to do a half a teaspoon of sugar. And I'm just going to shake it. And then we're going to get our cornstarch. And so cornstarch comes in these really, I think this is a nice container, and instead of that can kind of thing. But remember that you want to make sure that it's still in date. Okay. So this is 4 tablespoons. So something like cornstarch, you want to make sure that you get an accurate one. So just scrape it off with the back of your knife. 2, 3, and 4. I have these, I think Pampered Chef still makes these. I love these. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of whisk this all together. And so we've got a couple of lumps because that's our crystallized sugar, or crystallized ginger. Or if you've sliced fresh ginger, you might have that. But you want to make sure that your cornstarch is all blended. Okay, I'm going to put the meat in first because I want it to absorb a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this around, kind of coat the meat nice and good. Okay, then I'm going to add the vegetables. And again, I'm going to kind of get it all coated. So while this is starting, I'm going to go ahead and get my skillet hot because I like it better if the skillet's already hot. I'm going to put a little bit of avocado oil on the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and turn my skillet on so it can start warming up. And then remember, this calls for sliced onions, but I diced all of my onions earlier this week, forgetting to leave some for this recipe. So we're just going to go ahead and put some of these in. It says 2 small onions. This is a pretty potent onion. If you had, this wouldn't be smell-o-vision, smell YouTube.
Yeah, smell-o-vision.
You'd see they're kind of strong. So I'm not going to put that much in there. Okay, and then I'm going to get this all coated. And then you can serve this on top of rice, on top of egg noodles or rice noodles. The original recipe called for on top of rice. Okay, so we got everything kind of coated. Now you can let that marinate. So if you want to make this even a day or two in advance, or if you want to make it ahead of time and put it in the freezer, you can do that too. So, so we've got this. Okay, let me just go over my recipe, make sure we have everything. And I forgot the salad oil. Let's see what salad oil. A tablespoon of salad oil. So I'm going to use avocado oil, and I'm just going to kind of guess on that my spout is 1/4 cup. So I'm going to add a little extra because remember I had more meat. And I should have put that in my original sauce, but that'll be okay like this. Okay. And then they said about 3 tablespoons of oil in your pan, depending on your pan and how much it sticks and such. Again, I use avocado oil, and then I went ahead and heated up the pan. The pan's not real hot yet, but I'm going to go ahead and add all of this. And you can hear it sizzling, so the pan was hotter than if I started with a coal pan. It used to be, I thought this made just a little bit, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, my goodness, this makes a lot. So we're going to go ahead and let this cook. And we're just going to kind of keep turning it until the meat is cooked. And if you don't want your vegetables as crisp, you can put them in separately. But if you're going to do that, you want to divide the sauce. So your vegetables get seasoned with that sauce as well as your meat. I'm actually going to add some garlic because there's no such thing as too much garlic. And this had no garlic. So we get these little containers. I'm sure there's places. We get them from Costco. And so there's brown rice and then there's the sticky rice. So I wanted some white sticky rice. The nice thing is these cook in the microwave really good. No matter which one you use, they cook perfectly. Sometimes brown rice, it takes a little bit of an art to cook it right. It takes a little longer to cook than white rice, so it's usually people undercook it. But this is really nice. And so tonight I wanted sticky and Charles wanted brown, so this is really good. I think they still cook in the microwave the same amount of time.
Yeah, they're both the same amount of time.
Yep, and they're 90 seconds. And so you just lift this one little corner. So I'm going to go ahead and get these ready and put these in the microwave. If you put them both in at the same time, you do a little bit more time?
I don't know. I haven't tried figure.
You always do one at a time?
I always do one at a time, yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm going to do tonight too because I don't want to mess it up. I'm going to add a little bit more oil because that with the cornstarch, it's starting to stick to the pan a little bit. So while this is cooking, you go ahead and put away your ingredients and start cleaning up your kitchen. Otherwise, you're kind of going to stir it too much and you're going to lose some of that nice coating on here. Okay, so we like our meat a little on the rare side. This is going to be done pretty soon, so I'm going to go ahead and start both of our rices. And of course, if you're going to make rice in a rice cooker, you'll want to start your rice first because that way, before you even start all your prep and stuff, because then that way the rice will be done when you're ready. Or the rice in the one pot came out really, really nice.
Yeah.
Now the one thing is if you're using tri-tip, it's a tougher meat, and so you do want to kind of cut it into smaller pieces, so that way it does, and particularly with the marinade and stuff, it does get nice and it kind of tenderizes itself. The other thing you could do is you could leave it in the sherry. Again, take your sauce and take it and take part of it out. So put your meat in and let it start marinating while you're doing your vegetables. And then when you add your vegetables, add the rest of the sauce. You can do that as well. So the nice thing about these is they're perfectly portioned. They're 1 cup. Okay. When you pull the lid off the rest of the way, you can just put it right upside down in the bowl, squeeze gently, and it comes out very nicely. I don't know how much meat you want, Charles. That's good?
Yeah.
I should have probably only put half my rice in here. So there we have it. Pepper and beef. And you can add extra soy sauce, or in this case, my case, Charles might add some more soy sauce, and I would use the amino acids, but I think there's enough sauce here. It's as good as I remember. We were talking about this the other day. It's been 25 years plus since I've made this for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So sometimes you put a recipe away and you forget about it, and then something sparks your memory and you're like, where the heck did I put that recipe? So I put my recipes all in a 3-ring binder. I know you guys are probably all techy and you keep it on your phones or on your computer, probably mostly on your phones, which is good because then if you're at the grocery store, you can bring it up and pull a recipe. So enjoy, and thank you for cooking with Wonder About Us.